Well, hey, Cody, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Ron. It's
Great.
good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. So, I was on a couple minutes ago and I was doing a live just a couple minutes ago, and I was talking about cross generational uh, mentorship and
Mhm.
leadership um, and not just in those areas, but in all areas of our life, from uh, our physical, our
Right.
mental, our financial,
Yeah,
and our spiritual as well.
absolutely.
And I also told them,
I love that. I love that topic.
yeah, so
Yeah,
so
that's
um,
great.
and I told them that we were going to have special guests dropping in on occasion.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, hey,
Here you go.
as we speak, right?
Right,
And
right.
so
So
you
now we
name
got
it.
some cross generational mentorship
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, we do. And so I expect you to be able to give me some good mentorship
Oh, well, I didn't
here.
expect it to go that direction.
No, it can go both because that's the way that it works.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about so how did you get involved here and with us here at Clear Drift?
Okay. Well, yeah. So you know, our kids go to Grace Classical,
Yeah,
and I'm good friends with Dawson Schott, and you and him were talking about renovating this lease space,
yeah, yeah.
and I do trim carpentry as well
Uh-huh.
as I work with Dawson on his tree service, and so
Hmm.
Dawson said, "Hey, why don't you um, come in on this with me, and we can make this place look great, um, and maybe get some IVs along the way."
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how I got roped into it.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about so what made you decide that you wanted to go to Grace? Take your kids to
Oh, to
Grace.
Grace.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, um, I worked for a classical Christian school in Fort Worth called the Oaks for a year, and that was associated with our church, All Saints Presbyterian. And as I worked there, I got familiar with the classical model
Hmm.
and really found that it was what I wanted for my children.
Hmm.
Um, and so we kind of played with the idea for a while, and then our church planted down here in Granbury,
Hmm.
um, Christ Covenant Granbury,
Hmm.
and they meet at Southside Baptist.
Okay.
So um, it seemed to us that it only made sense that if we're going to be going to church down here and our life was going to be oriented towards Granbury, that our kids should go to school here as well. Um, and then we went to a convocation at Grace Classical,
Hmm.
and I saw the way that the young men carried themselves and the young ladies carried themselves
Right.
in the upper class. And whenever you see the product that a company is making and it's excellent,
Mm.
you don't really need to be sold on anything else.
Right.
The pitch has been made. And so we went to this convocation, and it was the upper class that was doing it was a play of sorts. And I saw the way that these kids carried themselves, and I thought, that's how I want my son and my daughter to behave,
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah.
And I said, if that's how these kids, if that's what this school produces, uh, in in you know conjunction with what the parents are doing at home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's
And,
important.
um, this is where I want my kids to be.
Yeah. So,
So
you're talking about with and being a parent today, I can see, man, the challenges. I mean, I'm not saying that I was the best parent, and I'd say that probably my kids would probably agree with me on that one. But but raising kids today has to be so much even more than when you were a kid, and um, but I mean, you had technology that was around when you were a kid,
Right.
but
It was
not,
more gradual.
yeah, it's not like it is today.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is really important to me is watching my grandkids and and my grandsons to be grow up to be um, respectful
Hmm.
Christian young men,
Yeah.
and my granddaughters to um, be respectable
Right.
and to
Beautiful.
be respected, right?
Virtuous.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's very difficult today in the world that we live in, because even you can't even take you, as a parent. I know I watch my daughters and my son-in-laws. You know, a few of them have to watch even a children's show before they can allow their child to see it
Right. Right.
because of the influences
Right.
and the things that's in there, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And um, it's interesting. You talk about differences in generation. I feel like Gen X parents were probably a lot more hands off. You can't
Hmm.
paint with too broad of a brush because that's not always the case.
Right, right.
But when I
But
think about
in general,
the way I parent versus the way I saw it growing up, you know,
hmm
um, and maybe millennials have swung the pendulum a little too far towards kind of the helicopter parenting,
hmm
um, where you know we have to have eyes on them at all times. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
um, but I do agree with those safeguards.
yeah,
Of well, what kind of themes is this show sending? What are they trying to inculcate into my children? Um, that's really under the surface, you know. Um, and sometimes it's a matter of I'm going to watch this first, and I'm going to guide you through what's being what's trying to be taught here from a worldview perspective,
right.
you know. Um, and so, anyways, going back to the idea of kind of being too hands on, when I was growing up, it was uh, when the street light came on, you better be home for dinner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I couldn't imagine doing that today. I got to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, and the thing about that is because I watch my grandchildren, and I'm very grateful and that I have uh, great grandchildren that are not great as in a label, but great as in that I think they're good kids.
Right.
And uh, but and we have the also have the luxury of the majority of my grandchildren living in a rural area, so it is
Right.
more like where they don't have the street light, but as the sun starts going down,
Yeah.
they
Come
need to
inside.
come in, right?
Yeah.
And so they're out in the country, so it makes it a little bit easier from that
Right.
perspective. But a lot of times in a lot of families, because like you say, you can't make that stroke too broad
Yeah.
on the canvas, right?
Right.
But in general terms, we a lot of times getting the kid outside, because
Yeah.
we have we have relied so much, and you mentioned about being a helicopter parent, but which I think you need to be,
Yeah.
whereas in the past I think it wasn't a necessity. It was just something that some parents did. But now it's more of a necessity, but it's more from what's in the house, right? So whereas before you were
Yeah.
told to come inside because you didn't want some stranger picking you up
Right.
and taking you away.
Yeah.
Well, now
Yeah.
it's even within your home because
Right.
we have
Yeah.
these things right
Right.
here
Yeah.
that can be
Yeah.
used for not such
It's
good
yeah.
things,
It's
right?
subversive. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
A kid with a screen by himself or by herself. you know, and it's obviously, you have the reins real tight when they're young,
Hmm.
and as they grow older, you loosen them when they are able to take on that responsibility.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, um, because what you're trying to do when they're young is to teach them how to think and
Right.
how to interpret data
Right.
through a biblical worldview.
Hmm.
And once you've given them those tools, you can start to let the reins loose a little bit and let them go where they want, essentially. Um, because they've been taught how to interact with the world, um, in a way that honors God and, you know is
Hmm.
good and right and true and beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about you, because I know, um, you're entrepreneurial. I know that, we've spent some time together
yeah,
here at the Clear Drip Wellness,
yeah.
and
I've really enjoyed
yeah, yeah,
working here. It's
we've
been great.
enjoyed having you here and helping us, put this together. And people have been walking in, and the first thing they say is, "Wow!"
Yeah,
And
it's a
so this
major
is,
transformation.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
for just a little bit of paint,
yeah.
huh?
Well, I think Dawson would say
Yeah,
it's a lot more than that.
yeah, yeah.
He spent a lot more time here than I did.
We stayed within the boundaries, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We
this
have an
place.
inspector coming
Yeah,
today.
that's all we did.
Yeah,
just,
yeah. So,
just lipstick.
but yeah, lipstick on a new pig. You know, but, so, let's talk a little bit about, because I know I had a conversation with, my son-in-law Ryan,
Right.
and we were talking about you, and of course, obviously, I wouldn't bring it up unless it was in a good light,
Okay, good.
you know, and we were talking about your entrepreneurial spirit,
Right.
and and so one of the things that I find, um, very admirable about you, and one of the things that I picked up on when I met you was that, and I, as a baby boomer, am attracted to wanting to help and work with,
Mm,
people like you,
yeah.
and here's the reason why, and this is why I want you to talk about this a little bit, is that I think your generation and the generation to come, uh, is there are going to be, um, more of a need for craftsmen,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm talking about craftsmen in not only construction,
Right.
but in like welding,
Hmm.
HVAC,
Yeah. The
electricians,
trades.
yeah, the
Yeah.
trades, because, most people are going towards, more of the social
Right.
side.
I think there was a poll at Berkeley, and they found that 25% of the students wanted to be a social media influencer. And so it's like, guys, somebody's got to build the stuff.
Right,
We can't all
right,
be influencers on
right.
YouTube. But yeah, just
Yeah.
to
So,
affirm what you're saying about,
yeah. So,
yeah.
what made you, as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
because, like I say, most entrepreneurs that are your age, like you say, 25% of them say they want to be a social
Right.
influencer.
Right.
And so, tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Wow. Um, it's just a story of God's grace. Um, I was full time real estate. So actually, uh, I kind of got thrust into entrepreneurship. Um,
All right.
so this was 2019. Um, I was going to school full time. I was getting a degree in Bible from uh, Master's Bible College,
Nice.
Master's
Okay.
University, TMU out in California. And I was still going to school online full time. And um, I was working a regular 8 to 5, Monday through
Hmm.
Friday, and and I loved that job, honestly. Um, I worked with one of what was one of my best friends at the time. He happened to be my pastor as well.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and he decided that it was time for him to sell the business because he wanted to, as he put it, burn the plows and 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 be more invested as a pastor, and not
Perfect.
have something competing for his attention.
Perfect.
You know,
Yeah.
and so that was a very admirable goal. He ended up selling it, and I thought at that time it was a good time for me to step away. But I was wondering what I was going to do, and so I ended up in real estate. And real estate, um, real estate worked very well with going to school online,
Yeah. Yeah.
because flexible schedule, and it was a mercy to me at the time because uh, I'd be I I went into real estate under my mom's brokerage. My mom's a broker,
Uh huh.
KLM Real Estate,
Okay.
and she happened to get these buyers. And when she got these buyers, the buyers were sent to her and me. So the person that sent them to her said, "You should use Kathy and her son Cody as a team." Now they didn't have to throw my name out there, but they did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these were investors,
Wow.
so they were
Okay.
buying properties pretty much every month. And it was a mercy at the time because basically all I had to do was go get an earnest money check, drop it off at title, and then I'd get paid half the commission a month later. But
Wow.
so that was a mercy because I was going to school and I needed to finish. But it was also in reflecting on this over the years, it was also detrimental to my character because it was teaching me to be lazy.
Wow.
And I expected that would just continue indefinitely.
Wow.
So I lost my drive.
Yeah.
I wasn't out there trying to hustle and get more business
Wow.
because I had this, constant check coming pretty much every month.
Wow.
Um, okay, so fast forward to 2022, I moved my family from Fort Worth to Palo Pinto, and the interest rates skyrocketed overnight,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I lost those buyers, and I had nobody else on the pipeline,
Wow.
and we had pretty much invested all of our money into this house that we bought. So it was an unwise financial decision on my part, and my I lost 60% of my business in a matter of a month, and I didn't know what to do. And I was frantically searching for jobs, trying to find something that would replace that income,
Right.
and that was a substantial amount of money that I was trying to replace,
Yeah.
and I had nothing to offer because I was not the one that was getting that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't something that was teaching me. It was teaching me to be
Right.
lazy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so it happened that my parents were building a house, and they were self contracting the whole thing.
Hmm.
And they asked me if I would do all the trim work. Well, I didn't have a saw. I didn't have any sort of knowledge about how to do this line of work. I'd never hung a
Wow.
door before in my life.
Really?
And so I just, I said, I didn't have a choice. It was money.
Yeah.
And so I just started working. And
Wow.
I found that I loved the work because it
Hmm.
was gratifying.
Hmm.
And so I ended up trimming out their whole house, hung every door. Um, I built a custom Ventahood for them, Ventahood cover,
Hmm.
um, and just started acquiring more tools and more knowledge. And um, and I just really became fascinated with the craft and wanting to learn more about how to do this with excellence,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, and all of that laziness that I had acquired over the past 2 years or 3 years of working in real estate, having things handed to me, vanquished, vanished essentially.
Yeah.
And then so that was trim carpentry. So that's one of my pursuits.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a call from Dawson Shot wanting to do tree work,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was zoned in on trim carpentry. That's all I wanted
Yeah.
to do. And and he said he gave me a call, and I still remember where I was. I was in Weatherford, off of exit 408.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember getting this call from him, and he said, "Hey, um, what would you think about doing tree work with me?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, I said, I said, to be honest with you, I hate doing tree work. That's what I said to him.
Wow. Okay.
And and I said, if I'm honest with you, I just want to pursue trim carpentry. I said, I appreciate it. I said, if you need a hand, I'll come lend a hand to you from time to time if I'm slow. And really, when I reflect on my disdain for tree work back then, it was because I was lazy.
Ah,
And tree work is hard.
yeah.
Tree
Yeah.
work is incredibly hard. When you
Yeah.
put in 10 hours of
Yeah.
tree work, you are absolutely dead. You
Yeah.
know.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
so, really, what I was saying is, I don't like work, and and so, but the Lord was working on me at the time.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
doing trim carpentry, and I was starting to work that muscle a little bit more
Uh-huh.
of putting in long days and doing hard labor. And so we ended up doing a couple of jobs together, and then he presented the offer to me again, and he said, why don't you just come in? We'll be partners, and we'll make this thing work. We'll make a good living together,
Yeah.
and we'll provide some jobs for other people.
Wow. Yeah.
And I said, all right, fine, I'll do it with you. That
Wow.
sounds good. And so now I do both of those things, um, and there's an art to both of them.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
um, and there's just an infinite amount of things that you can learn, you know,
Mm-hmm.
about both. And so, yeah, so I've just learned to work hard. And
Yeah.
Dawson and I were talking the other day, and it's funny because you can be willing to work hard with your body, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time be really lazy mentally.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
where I find
Yeah.
myself these days
Yeah.
is I'm willing to put in a hard day's work with my body, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to work on now is being more diligent with being a hard worker mentally
Mm-hmm.
and thinking
Mm-hmm.
deeply about how to do our how to perform our business in more efficiently, you know, um, do better work for the customer,
Mm-hmm.
research and development, all those sorts of things. So, anyways, that was I've kind of taken up all the air in the
No,
room, but
no, 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 no.
um,
That's what this is about. I
yeah.
mean, I'm interviewing you, so yeah. So no, that's great. And there's a couple things that you said that I want to bring back up because I think it's very important for the people that's going to watch this. Uh, Somebody will watch this and say, "Hey, I really like what Cody said." And so I think that somebody needs to hear this, and so they'll share it, and then somebody else will share it. So one of the things that you talked about was about helping other people,
Hmm.
so and that's the thing that I think that you and I both see in Dawson,
Yeah.
is that he doesn't just he's not selfish at all.
Right.
He's looking at it from
Very open handed. Yeah.
yes, and very wanting to make sure, and that is unfortunately for me, I learned that at an older age,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
now. is because it's about giving back now, and it's
Yeah.
about sharing with others. And you
Yeah.
know, so but you mentioned also about balance, because you talked about, you know, the physical,
Yeah.
and becoming lazy mentally.
Hmm.
um I think, you know, we as humans, we are lazy by
Yeah.
nature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We
And
inherited that sin from our father Adam.
yeah,
You
we
know,
did. Yeah.
passivity
Yeah.
is the perennial sin of men.
Yes.
You know that we have to
Yeah.
fight against.
And in it's hard to keep that balanced, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that we're wanting to bring uh, to Granbury, Hood County,
Yeah.
and the surrounding counties with what it is that we're
Right.
doing, because we're wanting to help create balance,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Right.
and in every aspect of our lives. Not This isn't just about physical,
Right.
it's not just about mental, it's not just about financial,
Right.
but it's also about spiritual,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
having balance in
Yeah.
each one of those things,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And if we can provide for you,
Hmm.
where it might be an IV, or it might be
Right.
a session in a cryo
Right.
session, or
Yeah.
infrared, or going into doing, which you probably don't need, because um, you're getting enough physical
Oh yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
But but
I need that cryo though.
yes,
I
the
need the
cryo
IVs.
works, doesn't it? Yeah, the cryo definitely
Well, I haven't
works.
tried it yet. I'm just doing my ice baths.
Okay,
So
yeah, well, yeah, let's talk about that in just a second. Let's
yeah.
talk about the ice baths. So, and that,
So
and after we get our uh, inspection, and we get approved, then we can give you the cryo.
yeah.
But but yeah,
Well, I think you said some things that you know that some sparked some thoughts in my mind about how we're integrated beings.
hmm
You know, um, and that's why it's so important to take good care of yourself.
right,
You know, because what you know, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pastor. I'm not
yeah,
a specialist in any of those things. But I know the scriptures talk about how the the spiritual welfare of our soul affects our body. David talks about how when he didn't confess his sins, I can't remember what he said. I think he said something to the effect of my 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 bones ached, something
yeah,
to that
yeah,
effect.
yeah,
When he wasn't confessing his sins to the Lord.
yeah.
Um, and I don't know if that's a euphemism for something else, but I think we
I
could
don't think
probably
so.
take it literally
I think so.
that it was affecting his body,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. And I
yeah,
think it works the other way around. When you don't take care of your body, it affects your soul. It affects
yeah,
your emotions um and all the way around.
yeah. And if one of those things are out of balance,
Hmm.
they it, they all become out of balance, right? It's like a wheel,
Yeah,
and if you've got the spokes,
yeah,
and unless all the spokes are
right.
evenly, you're going to have where it's not going to be a very smooth ride.
When we were at All Saints, Pastor Jeffrey did a talk on mental health, and he said that one of the first things he asked somebody, I think this was him, was who was has a bit of melancholy, a little dark night of the soul, is how much are you sleeping at night? You know,
Yeah,
because a lot of times it's not that we have some sort of ongoing sin in our life. It's that we're just maybe the sin of scrolling too much at night when we should be going to sleep.
right,
You know, or how much water are you drinking a day? you know.
right, right.
um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to interject that.
No, no, and you're absolutely right, because I mean, this morning in my quiet time, It's interesting because that's one of the things that I was thinking about was how that when I have things going on in my life uh, where I'm stretching myself,
Hmm.
like right now, because I've invested a lot in this,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, about how I didn't want to um, get in a place where it was going to affect me mentally, and because it's different today than what it was even 20 years ago.
Mm.
And so, uh, and it is important
Mm.
that we keep that balance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I know that because I always tell people, you'll know when I am completely at my um, breaking point. As far as um, when something is really bothering me, because for me it goes directly to my stomach,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
so that if I'm um, sick
Yeah.
and it has to do with my stomach, it's because I'm overly stressed in one
Right.
area of my life.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
anyway, so yeah.
That's a good point.
So we've been on now for about 31 minutes, and
Oh
so
wow,
we've got,
that
yeah,
flies by pretty quick.
flies by when you're having fun, huh? But so one of the things that I like to ask my guest are if you could give, and I know I'm putting you on the spot because
Uh-huh.
I should have told you that I
Yeah,
was
there
going
was
to
no
ask this.
notes.
Yeah,
I just walked in here to say hi, and I got roped into a podcast. So.
that's right. That's right. You did, and
Teach me
so
to come by, come by Ron's place.
hey, you come by anytime you want. Uh, so, uh, if you could give the people that are listening to this one piece of advice of something that was either taught to you or something that you've just learned, what would that be?
Just general anything on any topic.
Any topic.
Oh gosh,
This is your time.
you know, I think it would have to do with um, keeping your eyes focused on Christ, and
Hmm.
and that applies to every area of life. No matter what it is you're going through, the remedy is Christ, and that's something that I've had to learn. It's funny. It seems like such a rudimentary part of Christian living, but it's something that I feel like I've only just begun to realize um, that He is everything, and He's all that I need, and He's all that my soul desires.
Hmm.
Um, and so that would be the only advice I could give
Wow.
is to look to Christ.
Wow.
And over the past few months, I had um, just so the sin of pride welling up in my heart, and I started to realize this, that I was looking at my peers and I was envious of where they are, and and that is a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
And bitterness started to take root,
Wow.
because I'm struggling, and it seems like they're not, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and it finally dawned on me that the issue was I wasn't looking to Jesus.
Wow.
And the thought struck me that if you're looking at a mountain peak You don't notice the person in front of you who's just a little bit taller. You know, when you're looking to Christ, you're going to have contentment, and you're not going to be um, striving to one up your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be pushing them on towards that peak
Mm-hmm.
and saying, "Look to Him." So that's all I have, brother.
That's awesome, man.
That's all I have.
That's good. Well, hey, yeah, that'll teach you to
Hmm.
come to come in here. But so folks, thank you for coming on to the this. It's really not even a podcast. Uh, this was just kind of a live. So we wanted to come on here, and we're going to be doing this throughout the day, throughout the beginning of this, and so it's going to continue on. And so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make a like, a thumbs up, or whichever platform it is that you're on. Make a comment, share this. And again, this is Cody, and we'll be placing some ways that you can get in contact with him. If you need any work done, as far he is a talented carpenter, and he is entrepreneurial, and so I know there are probably people out there that are like my son-in-law that would love to get him to work for them. But so if you're looking for an employee, he's probably not your guy. But if you are looking for somebody that can do some really incredible carpentry work, he's your guy, I assure you. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and we'll be talking soon.